I want to tell you about the morning I dug up the rose bed along our back wall. 9 years of roses planted one at a time the spring after we moved in. I dug them up over 3 mornings, while he thought I was just doing the garden. By the Friday, every one of them was in a pot, in the boot of my car. This is that story. Richard and I bought the cottage when I was 27. It came with half an acre of what the estate agent generously called potential. Bramble, broken glass, a collapsed greenhouse from some previous decade. He worked long hours, even then. Sales. A territory that grew every couple of years. The garden became mine. Properly mine, the way unpaid, unglamorous work in a relationship tends to belong entirely to one person. I rebuilt the greenhouse pane by pane over 2 winters with second-hand glass from a salvage yard. I cleared the rosebed along the back wall the spring after we moved in. 9 roses planted in a single afternoon, one cutting at a time. It felt sentimental at the time and slightly embarrassing later. I never dug any of them up over that, though. On weekends, I started a small vegetable box scheme. 2 acres, though it was really closer to 1. 6 households at first, then 12, then 30. Richard handled our joint account, the mortgage, that side of things. He had the real job, as we used to joke. Not unkindly. I kept the 2 acres money in its own account, the way any small business does. An old habit. Nothing more than that, at the time. Every Sunday morning, weather allowing, we carried our coffee out to the greenhouse before either of us had said a word to the other. I had spent 9 years growing something out of bare clay. I assumed he was growing something too, just somewhere I couldn't see yet. I was right about that part. I just had the location wrong. 2 years ago, Richard's territory expanded again. A region 90 minutes north that needed covering until head office hired someone permanent. That meant Thursday nights away, most weeks, on top of the usual travel. Nobody hires that permanent person, in my experience. The covering just becomes the job. One evening, fairly early on, I said, "You've started leaving on Thursdays now." He said, "The new territory is just a lot to cover at the moment." Neither of us asked what "at the moment" might eventually mean. Looking back, I think we'd both gotten quite good at not asking each other things. It is a skill in its way, not one I'm proud of. Around the same time, Richard started carrying a second phone. For work, so I'm not on personal stuff during client hours. A reasonable enough thing to say. I did not question it. It lived in the car, mostly, in the glove box. He started getting his hair cut more often. New jumpers. A jacket I did not recognize, explained as client-facing now. Image matters. None of it, on its own, was anything. I have always done the car, the MOT, the service, the insurance renewal. Richard hates garages, and I do not mind them, so it simply became mine, the way the garden had. Booking the car in for its annual service last month, I did what I always do. Cleared the glove box of receipts and parking tickets before handing over the keys. Underneath the manual, there was a phone, not the one he carries day to day, the second one, the work one, screen dark, battery long dead. I assumed, genuinely, that it was an old work phone he had forgotten about. I put it in my bag, finished the service booking, and did not think about it again until that evening. That evening, while Richard was at the gym, the new gym, the one with the early classes, I plugged the phone in. It unlocked on the first try, the same 4 digits he uses for everything. He has never been a careful man in that particular way. there were photographs. A great many of them, going back 14 months. There were messages, with one contact, saved under a name I did not recognize. In every one of those messages, for 14 months, Richard had introduced himself as someone else. Danny, it used to be his name. His middle name. The one his mother still uses, and almost no one else. In 14 months of messages, there was no mention of a wife. No mention of a house, or a garden, or a greenhouse rebuilt pane by pane. There was, several times, a mention of a difficult divorce, finalized a while back, which was apparently why things between them had to go slowly. I said nothing when he got home. I said nothing the next morning either. What I did instead was open the shared calendar I have used for years to book his travel, another one of those small, unpaid jobs that quietly became mine, and line the dates up against the messages. Every covering the Northern Territory Thursday for 14 months matched. By the end of the week, I had a folder. Dates, messages, photographs, the calendar. The kind of folder I might have made for 2 acres, if 2 acres had ever needed defending. The woman's name was Priya. She worked 90 minutes north, in the territory Richard had been covering. In the messages, she was not someone sneaking around the edges of someone else's marriage. As far as she knew, there was no marriage to sneak around. She believed Richard, Danny, was a single man, recently and painfully divorced, finally ready, after all this time, to be serious about something. She had a removal company booked for 6 weeks' time. She was moving south, to be near him. She had no idea our wedding anniversary had been 3 months earlier. There was a photograph of that evening on our shared cloud account, the 2 of us, the greenhouse lit up behind us, taken on a timer. I sent her that photograph. Just the photograph. And the date. And his actual name. Nothing else. I did not think anything else was mine to say. I spent the next 3 mornings digging up the rose bed. 9 roses, 9 years old. Root balls wrapped in sacking, potted into whatever containers I could find. Old buckets, a recycling bin, a cracked terracotta pot that had been sitting empty in the shed since before we moved in. I moved the 2 acres equipment, the trays, the polytunnel frames, the till, into a friend's barn in installments over the same 3 days. I had already found a small flat to rent with a balcony and already moved the 2 acres savings, which had only ever been in my name, into an account Richard did not know existed, though it had existed for 9 years. When he came home on the Friday and saw the bare wall where the roses had been, that was the first thing he asked about, not the folder, the roses. I told him I was taking the roses, the business, and myself, and that the house and the greenhouse were his to keep. He asked if we could talk about it. I said the roses needed replanting before the weekend, and I did not have time. The roses are on the balcony now. It is 1/3 of the space they had, and they look slightly absurd, crammed into buckets and an old recycling bin. But they are alive, and so far, nothing has died. I left the greenhouse behind. 9 years of glass, fitted pane by me, with my own hands. That part I could not take with me. Some days, that is the part that still catches me, more than anything else did. Before you go, I genuinely want to know what you think, and I read every comment in the early days of a video going up. I took the roses and left the greenhouse. Some people I know think I should have fought to keep the house. the thing I had actually built, even if it meant staying around him longer to do it. Would you have fought for the greenhouse, or taken what you could carry and gone? And if this is the kind of story you came here for, the ones people do not usually say out loud, subscribe. There is a new one every week.